What up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the interview I just posted with a company called Novonix. Got the co-founder and COO, and really just found out about them. And I think they're totally under the radar. Have an extremely interesting link to Jeff Don and Tesla. And so I kind of want to just go live and recap with what my research is and see if you had any questions, because I've just been processing all of this. I think it was 72 hours ago, I got an email from a subscriber being like, hey, this weird little company that's listed on Australian Stock Exchange, $50 million, just come out with some battery breakthrough that Jeff Don is talking about, and they keep referencing the million-mile battery, and it looks like they're working with Tesla, and I'm like, no way. There is a tiny little Australian penny stock that has some crazy game-changing battery technology that's working with Tesla, so skeptical. And the more and more I looked into it, I'm like, wait, there's something here. They just put out a press release about a battery breakthrough, and they literally have a paragraph quote from Jeff Don about how much of a big deal this is. And so that really got me on this kick of starting to research more and more about what Novonix is. And so I think I got a pretty good idea. So basically, for those of you who don't know, Jeff Don, researcher in Dalhousie University in Halifax, Canada, is basically this super cutting-edge academic researcher who was previously partnered with 3M that Tesla said in 2016, hey, you're amazing. We want to get you to do exclusive battery research for Tesla. And so they started this contract with him. His basic goal was to extend the cycle life of batteries, the amount of times you can recharge and discharge the battery, to basically make it so the degradation of each of those charge cycles is lower and lower. These batteries last longer and longer. Key for the mainstream adoption of electric vehicles and for batteries to stabilize the grid and have it go renewable. So does SpaceX success translate into positives for Tesla? 100% yes. Elon's brand doing better is amazing for Tesla. I can cover that at the end of the stream. Thank you for the super chat. I just want to get to Novonix, then we'll do all the Tesla stuff. So basically, yeah, so Jeff Don gets contracted by Tesla, and then it sounds like in 2012, Tesla had already begun hiring Don's students. So even though the official partnership's 2015, 2016, Tesla had already been poaching students, talking to Don in the early 2010s, around 2012. And so around then is when Chris Burns, a PhD for Jeff Don, got out of the lab and basically figured out this new way to test the degradation of things way quicker, a way quicker iterative feedback cycle of how many cycles is this new cell chemistry going to last. If it takes me, way less time and resources to figure that out, I can do a lot more tests, and my pace of innovation in battery research is accelerated. So he's like, this is an awesome little thing. Let's start a company. So for the past 8 or 10 years, starts this company that sells to all these really impressive customers. Like I think Apple's a customer, Panasonic, Samsung, all of the really big Tesla, all of the really big battery companies are paying this tiny little company for basically this testing equipment or testing services to see how long their batteries can last. And then while they're commercializing this, they basically figure out a way that, hey, since we're testing all of these, we're going to test a bunch of different types of synthetic graphite, which is a different advanced material for batteries, and figure out how to come up with our own awesome synthetic graphite and sell that. So now we have Novonix had 2 prongs of the company, this sort of way to test battery materials faster, more iterative feedback loop. Then we also have, when we were testing all these materials, we actually found a material that could be super useful and valuable, and that is pure graphite. So there's 2 branches of the company. So, and then the way the actual company is structured, I think, is part of the reason it's so under the radar is they're based partially in Halifax, this research area in Canada next to Jeff Don, but then they're also having a huge factory in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where they're actually building this new plant to actually ramp up the production of this new synthetic graphite. Yet they're listed in Australia. And so I think this combination of things makes it extremely complicated. For the record, I'm not a shareholder. I own no stock. I'm totally not recommending buying or selling. Never financial advice on the channel. And this is I was actually thought about buying the stock, and because I was interested in the company to just buy a little bit, because I think their technology is fascinating, to see Jeff Don vouch for it is super impressive, but I just felt kind of morally like it wouldn't be really right for me to buy it and then talk about it because it's so small. I don't know. I didn't want to get involved in that. But point is, I don't own a stock. I'm trying to be unbiased here, and this is not financial advice, but I think this company they have unbelievable technology, is what I'm reading about this. Like Jeff Don is an industry leader in battery technology. There's no way he would be working with a company, referring customers to someone, putting his name behind something that wasn't an industry game changer, letting a quote in his, a full paragraph quote in their press release. And after I go live, I'm going to link to all the investor materials that Novonix has. So you can go look into their investor presentation where they talk about the million-mile battery, where you can read the press release and read Jeff Don's quote about how big of a deal this is. So now my theory is, okay, so how does this tie into Tesla now? What's going on? So, Elon Musk a couple years ago had this quote that our batteries are actually they're called lithium ion, but they really should be called like nickel graphite batteries, because those are a huge part of the materials that go into them. Like what actually goes into these little cells that are in your car, all these raw materials from all around the world. Well, a bunch of these come from Asia, specifically graphite, one of the most important materials in the battery. The problem is that the pollution process and, you know, shipping and logistics to actually get that graphite makes the carbon footprint go way higher. It's costly, it's maybe not good enough quality, and we're relying on China and Asia for a really critical piece of our national infrastructure and supply chain. So this is something that's kind of been a source of tension, is all these battery skeptics are like, ooh, gotcha, well, how are you going to get graphite if you're just relying on China from it? Well, now this new industry has popped up, synthetic graphite. Basically, we can build it artificially ourselves, I guess. And Jeff Dawn is on the record saying, like, this is where everyone's moving. We don't know why synthetic graphite is performing better than natural graphite, but it is. And I was Googling, it looks like Tesla's already been using synthetic graphite, so it's already, you know, been sort of proven and commercialized in certain products. And so now we have this, like, I don't know, I guess I'm seeing this bigger and bigger trend of like, okay, graphite is a key material in batteries. Synthetic graphite is the new wave of graphite. And, you know, Novonix makes, according to Jeff Dawn, the best synthetic graphite. And what's even more interesting is I was reading into this, and they say that the Novonix CEO, Chris Burns, actually helped Tesla build its Halifax facility. So, you know, Novonix and Jeff Dawn are basically the people that Tesla outsources all of its testing for longevity of batteries. And so I just have to think that I don't know, and this is where it gets a little complicated, because just because Tesla's using them to test batteries and companies like Apple are using them to test batteries, that's very different than them actually buying Novonix's pure synthetic graphite product. So this is a big transition for the company of just testing services to commercializing this new product in vehicles. And so I'm very curious to see how this will launch, and they have two big contracts for this new synthetic graphite, which I've been looking into. So the first one is with Samsung. That looks like it's already been commercialized. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys the best part of this. So the pure graphite thing, they're like, we can do anode, cathode, and electrolyte. The anode is already the part that they had down, the silicon graphite, synthetic graphite anode. And if you look in the Million Mile paper for, and if you look in the Million Mile paper for Jeff Dawn, you'll see that they use a synthetic graphite, or I think it's a graphite anode. I'm not sure if it's synthetic or not, but they use a graphite anode, which is exactly what Novonix is saying. Hey, like, that's the best, most close to commercializing product we have is a graphite anode. So I think there's like, my theory is that in the Million Mile battery, this is like my speculation, like moonshot, why Novonix matters. In the Million Mile battery, there is synthetic graphite that Jeff Dawn has used, and that synthetic graphite could be made by Novonix. That's one of my theories. But then the question is, Novonix is super early in ramping this. You know, they're on the close to commercializing, but not really. Like, so their first agreements with Samsung, the furthest along, 500-ton supply agreement of synthetic graphite and anode material commencing in 2020, subject to quality assurance, working on longer-term supply agreement, R&D collaboration agreement on new materials, conditional on supplier audit and Q&A. So it sounds more like Samsung is using Novonix to just do R&D on these new synthetic graphite anodes, not actually commercialize them. So that's curious. Then they also have, this is what really piqued my interest, and like the company couldn't really talk about, is this deal with Sanyo. So Sanyo is the battery division of Panasonic that actually is at the Gigafactory that makes all of Tesla's cells already. And that company, who's already making all the cells in all of the Teslas, is partnered with Novonix on this joint venture to commercialize this next level synthetic graphite. So I always thought Tesla was going to cut out Panasonic, but maybe they're not going to cut out Panasonic. They'll vertically integrate into producing the cells, but Panasonic will still supply and integrate some of the materials for those cells. And that's for this next generation cell, Panasonic has partnered with Novonix. So I don't know. I'm hoping that all of this makes sense, but just the more and more I look at this, the more I'm like, there's got to be a link here. Like, they don't really want to say they're partnering with Tesla, but if you look on their website, there's a bunch of different clues about how they're partnering with Tesla. Jeff Dawn is bullish. I've never seen Jeff Dawn go on the record and go like quote a company's technology this highly. And he's doing all the long-lasting durability testing for Tesla. Their whole new announcement is about how long their new battery lasts. And think about this story, synthetic graphite. We're not sourcing it from China. We're sourcing it from Chattanooga. It's made in the US. It's a way lower carbon footprint. There's some sort of new technology that they've figured out in the production process. I'm going to give you guys the buzzword right now. DPMG, new manufacturing method for anode and cathode materials. It's dry particle microgranulation. This is the big deal, and this is part of their new technology, and they think that their unique cathode synthesis supports high-performing cathode materials while decreasing costs, NMC, NCA, like they're mentioning all the chemistries that are in the Tesla cells. They also say, which I thought was really interesting, that like they keep mentioning like the million mile battery in their presentation. They don't say they're working with Tesla on the million mile battery, but they're like, this is key technology for getting on the cusp of, you know, that million mile battery. And they also have a really interesting slide about how the ramp is going. They think that they can, you know, they're investing out the pure, you know, on one hand, they have this super cut, and this is why it's kind of scratching my head. On one hand, they have this super cutting edge synthetic graphite technology that Jeff Don's praising, this amazing testing equipment. We're working with Tesla and Apple. On the other hand, you're a $50 to $60 million Australian company. You just raised 30 million, pretty dilutive funding round. So they just raised a huge amount of money. They're cleaning up their cap table. Like, there's too many executives. I don't know, just the structure of the company is very interesting and almost like kind of a sketchy red flag to me. Like, why are you an American company that's trading in Australia? And they have this weird backstory of mergers, which is why that happened. But I think they should clean that up. And I'm like, well, if this is such a game-changing technology, like, why isn't Tesla bought them for 50 million? You know, why isn't Panasonic bought them for 50 million? Why hasn't Samsung bought them for a certain amount of money if they really have this synthetic graphite on lock? That's another question I have. But I have to think there's something legitimate going on here. I'm looking through their investor presentation to see if there's anything else I should say you right now. I mean, just to tell you their customer list, it's like Honda, Huawei, Bosch, Panasonic, Cattle, Samsung, Dyson, Apple, Alucent, Dalhousie University, SK Innovation, 3M. So like Bosch, Huawei, everybody who's big in batteries is using their testing equipment. So I don't know. There's something going on here. This is why I wanted to open it up to you guys and kind of just put it all out there that I think this is a really interesting company to watch that was not on my radar. And literally 2 weeks ago, they put out this dry particle microgranulation press release. Jeff Don is touting it on the cusp of us trying to figure out what the hell Tesla's working on. I mean, there's so much swirling here. And this guy, Chris Burns, that I just had on the channel, worked at Tesla setting up their lab with Jeff Don. Like, yeah, I think there's a shoe about to drop here, and I'm like swirling on something big, but I just can't figure out what it is. Like, Samsung has supplied Tesla in the past. They've worked with Samsung on the big battery for Hornsdale in Australia. So maybe that Samsung ramp could already be with a Tesla deal. I don't know. There's just so many questions swirling, so much that we don't know here. And this is all speculation, of course, but I'm just really, really curious to see how this turns out. If you guys have any comments or questions, let me know. Someone did ask about SpaceX's effect on Tesla stock today. I mean, I think this is really obvious. First of all, Tesla and SpaceX share engineers. Their HQs in LA are super close to each other. I think that, you know, and Elon Musk succeeding with SpaceX is only good for Tesla, only adds to his credibility. I think it's just only a good thing for Elon Musk's brand. It gives Tesla so much free marketing, like so much free marketing. Battery day can't come fast enough. I agree. Samsung's talking about using graphite batteries for smartphones. Yeah, but it's really interesting because it's what this has all got me, you know, thinking about is this is so complicated. Like the way these battery supply chain works, like I've been learning about this, like, so, you know, you have your Tesla car. It's like, well, where did all that stuff go from? You know, it's like, well, they had to mine it from all these mines and they had to ship it to China and like process it into these like raw materials that they could actually use. And they ship it to somewhere else to process it. And then they ship it to Nevada where they have to turn it into a cell. And then they ship that cell to Fremont, California, where they put that cell in a car. And then they ship those cars to wherever they need to go around the world, probably back to China half the time, or not anymore because they have the China factory. But so you get the point of like the battery supply chain is huge. It's massive. It's extremely complex. And at the same time, I think there's this, at least what I'm learning now is like, there's this sort of give and take of like, do we mine, you know, normal raw materials, or can we create synthetic materials with much cleaner, greener production processes that also result in a higher quality product, and, you know, own our supply chain domestically. And that to me is why synthetic graphite is so fascinating. And this company is so fascinating. I just wish they were listed on the NASDAQ. I wish they were a US company. I mean, they have a US factory. I think that's kind of the next thing I would do if I was Novonix, like clean up my list in the US, because I don't really have operations in Australia. So I don't know, that's all confusing to me. And like, I feel like they have like too many executives that are getting paid and not doing enough. And like, I don't know, in analyzing the company, it's scratching my head. I think what's happening is you just have genius engineers and like cutting edge science, but not maybe the best like business people or strategy or investor relations approach. And that is why they have been so off the radar. And that's why the stock is only a $50 million stock. But then on the flip side, it's like Tesla bought Maxwell for 200 or 300 million. This company's already worth 50 or 60 million. They're just doing the graphite. I mean, how much real value is there in that? But then on the flip side, it's everything's going to have batteries. This is a massive industry. If they have the lowest cost, highest performance, cleanest, lowest carbon impact synthetic graphite in the world, then that's an amazing product that could build a multi-billion-dollar company. And so that's why I think I'm really interested and want to keep following this story for Novonix. And so this is tying back to Tesla and Battery Day. I guess what this has really got me thinking about is that, as much as we're like, oh, Tesla's going to go into cell production and cell manufacturing, like it's just not that simple. Like it's not like you just like, oh, like they were building the pack and letting Samsung build the cell. Now we're just going to build the whole cell. Like, I think there's a lot of levels to vertical integration. Like Elon Musk has joked about mining. I think Tesla wants to vertically integrate as much as possible, but it's very hard. Like you're literally replacing decades of expertise and research and patents in how to build a battery. You can't just do that overnight, even though they are Tesla. If anybody can do it, it's Tesla, but it's going to take time, and they're in literally step by step. Like, okay, before they were building the batteries in Japan and like shipping them over. Now they're building them in Nevada. Now they want to have battery production on site with the cars. Now they want to do another, like they knock down each step. And I don't know how many steps they're going to go. So I think it's very possible they still partner with, a Panasonic, a CATL, to do their own cell manufacturing. But I've also seen on their job posting, you should go to the Tesla jobs posting site and search cell. You can see that even today, they posted a new job for cell abuse engineer in Fremont. So California, Fremont, Palo Alto, Silicon Valley, Tesla's hub. They're hiring dozens of jobs, or it looks like around a dozen jobs that are open right now for cell engineer and cell testing. So to tie into all this news, it's like, well, are they using the synthetic graphite in the million-mile battery? It doesn't quite add up because it seems like Tesla's already producing their batteries, and these guys have barely even started delivering them. So another thing to tie into all this, I keep thinking more and more about the tweet that Elon Musk sent when I tweeted oh, the new Maxwell cell's coming out. This is what Tesla's gonna announce at Battery Day, and Elon Musk replied to me there are many pieces to the puzzle. So I've just been thinking more and more man, this is so interesting. I think a big thing that's going to come out in Battery Day is recycling. Is it, how much of the new battery pack is designed so it can be easily recycled, and how much does that matter for cost? And, it's not just about the battery new cell we're working on. It's about redesigning the pack without modules. Art Vandelay. That's a Seinfeld joke, and you just gave me the best. I think I will tweet that, honestly. Just be like, so Art Vandelay in the super chat here says, just tweet to Elon if he wants to buy them, and why not? I think that's a good idea, honestly. I'll probably do that after this live stream. Tweet Elon and be like, yo, at Elon and Jeff Dawn, what's so great about Novonix's synthetic graphite? Is this the real deal? Is the hype real on pure graphite? I don't know. I think when you want to think about who Tesla will buy out and which battery technology they want, it's all about the most efficient use of capital. There's so many things Tesla can do with their capital. Should they buy a mine for $10 billion? It's like, no, they only have $6 billion on the balance sheet. They need to deploy this super efficiently. They have a bazillion things to invest in. Should we start building a plane, engineering resources to that? What about a boat? What about a bigger mega pack? Or should we do a new battery cell technology? Or should we work on our self-driving program? Should we build more superchargers? Should we let them charge faster? There's a gazillion things on the list of what Tesla needs to spend money on. And vertically integrating into battery production is on the list, but it really has to be a high efficiency ROIC use of capital, something that really is going to move the needle for Tesla if they do it. And that's where you got to think about it. And to me, it's okay, well, if they spend 200 million, 100 million to buy, Novonix, is the graphite really that important versus a bunch of other things they could have spent the money on, or is it more commoditized? These are all really interesting things to consider, and this is going to be the fascinating part of Battery Investor Day, is where Elon Musk wants to spend the money. My prediction is it's going to be a $1 to $2 billion outlay as part of this new factory to get some big new way to get battery production up. They need a bunch more batteries. So the question is, how do they do it? You're going to have to spend money somehow. The question is, what do you spend money on? Redesigning cells for recycling, I agree that's huge. Yeah, they're not going to buy Lyft because I just think there's not enough value in that network. Do we have any more questions here? Usually don't drink Coca-Cola, but a little glass bottle is nice. Redwood materials. So if we do, the only thing that would be crazier than watching JB Straubel get on stage and talk about Redwood materials at Battery Investor Day would be seeing him not do it. Because I'm like, the CTO of Tesla goes to start his battery materials recycling company. Recycling is getting a more and more thing. Like, I don't know. I just got this really interesting insight once from someone I was talking to in the Tesla world that was like, mining is interesting, but recycling could even be cheaper. And now that we've had these EVs on the road for 8 to 10 years, and we're getting ready to really talk about how to implement a battery system that the entire world will run on, the focus on recycling is going to be extremely pertinent. And so I think there's going to be a lot of, I think Tesla will inevitably discuss how they plan to recycle this new battery cell or their batteries that they're working on. But the question is, does that involve JB Straubel's new company, or is that something, I'm pretty sure they want to do closed loop at the Gigafactory, like literally recycling everything and just continually reusing it on site at the Gigafactory. That was the OG plan a long time ago. I don't know if that's changed. Yes, so Stephen Guletas, fascinating. Okay, this is why it's so complicated. He's like, doesn't this level the, fascinating question, doesn't this new Novonix technology actually level the playing field for other manufacturers that haven't invested as much historically because it shortens the cycle time between tests by an order of magnitude? Yes, so that's like what I was saying, is this is why Novonix has such an interesting technology. If you wanted to turbocharge R&D of a battery powerhouse, now I'm convincing myself that maybe Tesla should buy them, this testing technology seems like a game changer. And this new DPMG commercialization thing that sounds like a way better way to test and produce all of this stuff that Jeff Don is hyping up could be a huge deal. And, now all these other auto OEMs who have been too lazy can just go to these new generation suppliers and purchase it. I still think Tesla, so yes, it's getting easier to test battery materials because of companies like Novonix that could, in theory, accelerate the pace of innovation of other EV players' battery programs. But on the same side, like, I think it's a first mover advantage, and I think Tesla's real advantage that people don't talk about enough, always about the autopilot data. What about the battery data? You actually have a million cars on the road who've been charging, destination charging, supercharging, fast charging here, slow charging here, 100% here, all sorts of weather, hot, cold, wet. You have all this data about how battery degradation works in the real world and across a bunch of different cells. Like, to me, that data that Tesla has in the real world is actually extremely informative for how to build these cells practically. And this is just a decade of expertise of literally just trial and error that no one else has, that they're going to have to go through. I think that recycling was already going to be part of Battery Day. I also think Plaid Powertrain's game changer. That's another big thing, is like, as much as the battery and the cell and how they design the pack is all great, the other half of that is the powertrain, how this energy that they're storing actually gets used and dispersed to the wheels, and the technology and how efficient that is. That's another place that my understanding and research shows that Tesla is very, very far ahead, not just the battery, the powertrain. I do feel like Elon said they may not even talk about powertrains anymore, went back on that because they had like too much to discuss. So I don't know. How long do I think it'll be until Tesla's no longer battery constrained? I love that question. I would potentially say probably 2030. And this is what the guy, which was so fascinating, and why I'm looking, in Tesla and all these other battery suppliers as well, because everything in the world is about to get powered by batteries. Every device around us is going to have a battery. It's not just cars. And I think this has a really, really long way to go. And Tesla will not start licensing their batteries in Battery Investor Day, because they're constrained. They need the batteries themselves. I've thought about this a lot. This is my new take. I thought they might originally. It's kind of an MBA thing. Like, this is what like your Wall Street banker hedge fund bro is going to be pitching Elon and Tesla. Like, dude, like, you guys have the best battery. Definitely license out this battery pack to Volkswagen, Chrysler, Fiat. They're desperate for it. Yes, they are. Yes, on paper, that would make you a ton of money as Tesla transitions to an IP technology licensor. But then the real question is, it's like, well, where are we building all these factories? Who's the engineering resources to build and design a factory? Where are we getting actually a bunch of synthetic graphite? Novonix can only ramp their synthetic graphite program so quickly. Like, you have to actually get all the lithium and nickel and manganese and whatever actually all the way to that factory to build the Tesla's next generation battery. I think building up one of those supply chains, Tesla's in-house materials, battery materials supply chain team is an amazing team. It's a strategic team that no other automaker would have ever had, because they would have never even needed to build batteries. And so, is Tesla going to give up a decade worth of building a battery materials team and that expertise out to other automakers just to get that license? Like, you know what I mean? Like, once you actually think about what it would take to implement a battery licensing deal, to me, it's way too complicated. And Tesla's biggest problem is they need their own batteries to hit hundreds of billions in revenue for all their own products. Let's do that and then start licensing it out. That's, yeah. Factories is I don't think the factories, so I do think Tesla wants to sell its factory as a product eventually, the machine that makes the machine. I just don't think they're ready yet. And I don't think this battery, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this though. Anything else? I'm in an undisclosed location with Mickey Mouse. So is Novonix the real deal? That's what I'll end the live stream on, unless you guys have any more questions. I might do a live stream tomorrow for Nikola Motors IPO. This is a really interesting one. Yeah, there's going to be some cool stuff coming out about that. So I might do another live stream tomorrow about that. But yeah, y'all should all subscribe to the channel. Shout out to Chicken Genius Singapore, I think is what his channel's called. He's got a great Tesla channel, shouted me out on his channel for this interview on Novonix. So what's up, dude? Thank you. And do I know if Elon Musk or anyone from Tesla monitors my channel? I'm very confident that somebody from Tesla's watching, for sure. Right? Why would JB go to Redwood Materials if he, instead of doing work within Tesla? My theory is maybe he just got sick of Elon, or maybe he wanted a different strategy, but like, I don't know. That's one thing I'm really curious about Battery Investor Day. Okay, so if you guys are sticking around this deep in the live stream, I'm dropping some knowledge here that I haven't made a video about because I haven't gotten around to it, but I'm going to soon. Oh, the Tesla, that's good. Tesla's innovation here, I thought it was all the new cell. I think it's not just about the new cell, but it's about how they design the pack with that new cell. And I think you're going to get a 10 to 20% cost efficiency improvement with the cell, and a 10 to 20% efficiency improvement with the new cell to pack, directly designed pack. And there's gonna be some wild stuff with the new, like, I'm just like, okay, Elon, this 4,000 cells in one battery pack is what JB Straubel schemed up a decade ago that you guys have been commercializing. Like, let's let Elon Musk go to the drawing board and start from scratch on just a radical new battery. Is it just one cell? Is it just 144 cells? Are they bigger? I'm hearing they could be 50, whatever in diameter, like twice the size of the other cells. Is there no modules? Does that take out space? You know, they have a decade of knowledge to redesign a battery pack from scratch right now. And Elon Musk has said that the modules are vestigial. They're not necessary. They don't need them. We should design our next pack without modules. So that means they're going to town from scratch on a pack redesign. And that's my theory. And that is what gets me pumped. I'm like, man, like, okay, making those 4,000 little cells with the dry electrode a little more efficient. Great, that's fun. But like, whoa, what if we could just totally redesign the size and the shape, and that would have implications on the charging and on the degradation. And now that you have these cells that can last 1 million miles and degrade way less, like, there's just so many different opportunities where this can go. And I think that's going to be a huge innovation about cell to pack. There's a patent on this. Apparently I need to read it. Roger, thanks for reminding me on that. Am I going to vote yes or no for Tesla advertising at the shareholder meeting? Come on, man. No, of course not. This is a company that sells every car they can. Just, it's so refreshing to me for Tesla and Elon Musk to just have this motto of like, we will only invest in making the product better. We don't want to do business the same way that everybody does business just because that's the way they do business. Our products should sell itself. If it doesn't, it's because it's not good enough. We shouldn't have to pay to lie to convince people to buy it. We should pay to make it better. And so that to me is like, you know, just everything. And I think I love that mentality for Tesla, and I just love that attitude, and it just makes them so different. And I think them, like this new proposal at the shareholder meeting says they should pay $50 in advertising per car. No, I don't think so. By that logic, I would be like, why don't you just drop the price by $50 per car? You know, I don't know. I don't like this at all, and I really don't like the fact that shareholders are allowed to tell Elon Musk how to run the company with a vote, which I guess kind of makes sense, but I'm like, dude, I'm investing in this company because I trust Elon Musk to run it, not because I know how to run a global auto OEM. Like, you know what I mean? And so I think that's where I don't like the advertising thing of like forcing a business model change with a shareholder proposal. Like, first of all, it's not going to pass. There's not a chance. I don't think this is going to pass at all. But that's my personal take on it. And it's like, I think it goes, this is another hot take of like, when they removed Elon as chairman, I hated that. You know, everyone's like, oh, well, this isn't proper shareholder governance and da-da-da. I want an owner, operator, founder who thinks super long-term, who can make a really gutsy contrarian bet and strategic move and doesn't have to worry about his board of directors coming down on him. I think that's so important. That's like, I want, I'm investing in Tesla because I want Elon to make radical moves that no one agrees with for the next decade, and not have people, some, stuffy board of directors, old dude, tell him what to do. That's not what I want. And I think that's kind of a weird mentality, but like, that's just personally where I come from, of like, I'm investing in that radical founder. I don't like to think of it as like a private equity firm of like, I'm investing in this business, which is an asset, which has this cash flow. And, the CEO is destroying our near-term cash flow value, so let's vote him out. Like, that's not, I want to invest in exciting companies. And I think we shouldn't be telling Elon how to run the company and the executives how to run the company. I think that's kind of like a stepping over of shareholder. Like, this is like, it's, sure, you can have proposals and do the shareholder meeting thing, but to me, this is too granular and I don't like it. So I would vote no, but it's a vote, so we'll see. So I'm gonna try to get these super chats. I'm sorry if I missed your super chat. Uh-oh. Are you coming to the shareholder meeting? I think I might, because I've been like 4 years in a row with my buddy Julian, who's actually like right over here. And I love the shareholder meeting. I love meeting everyone and like hanging out. And yeah, I don't know. I love the shareholder meeting in person. But it's kind of, I don't, traveling's not the easiest. So I'm not 100% locked, but I'd love to be there. Which Tesla model and year will we use the first to use this new battery tech? Sorry, low battery on the phone. I believe it will be the Cybertruck. The Semi and the Cybertruck, maybe the Semi then first. Maybe a Plaid Model S will have the new $1 million battery. Maybe every of the cars have them. This is what I'm very curious about, because if they're, it's really hard to build enough batteries to transition all of Tesla's products. So is only in products? I don't know. You're asking like the good question of like, where is the new battery cell go? Do they even have a new battery cell? We're all pretending like Tesla's a lock to introduce a new battery cell. That might not even happen. So Roadster, yeah. Okay, any more comments or questions here? I'm running out of batteries, so. Yes, the Model S needs a facelift. And I think the Model X should be discontinued. What percent of my portfolio is in Spotify? Like under 10%, including options and stock. Like, Tesla is still my biggest investment. I have not sold a single share. Not planning on it. Just because I'm so long-term, and I'm just more convinced than ever in the technology and the opportunity here. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up with Novonix. Yes, I think new quad motor Cybertruck, if they have it, or tri-motor, could do tank turns. Really hoping that. So plug in my phone. So okay, Spotify. You guys have been get me with like, well, Spotify is 35 billion, Square's 35 billion, but it's disrupting the music industry really bigger than building an internet digital bank. And I'm like, God, you got me. I like that thinking. Marcel, what's up? Thank you for the super chat. Ooh, Bitcoin's over 10. Woo! All right, I'm staying on another minute because Bitcoin's over 10K. Woo! Woo! How do you balance more work from home remote, high paying jobs, reducing demand for cars to commute, more work from home spreading out to cities so more people drive to work instead of bike walk? I don't know. I mean, so this is actually something I've written about in our Patreon newsletter. Shout out to the Patreons. I send out a newsletter every Monday. Just send it out. And this one thing that I've been thinking a lot about that I think the market and people aren't pricing in is that this work from home thing is huge. It's not changing. This is a structural shift in our economy. And like, we will just, less and less people are going to work from home. Like, the game has changed. Like, all my friends' companies that work in tech are like, 2021 at least. Like, you're not coming into work until 2020 at least. And when you do come into work, we're gonna have half the desks. You might have to apply to come into work. We're only gonna have half the office space. You'll come in 3 days a week. Like, just the amount of, this is why Lyft to me and Uber are screwed, and they're firing people left and right, because the people moving, oil demand is off a cliff, because just the movement in our economy is dropping by maybe 50% permanently before building up from this very lower new normal base. Because it's just going to take so long for this all to happen. And for it to recover. So I think demand for cars is very, very interesting. 90 million cars are sold a year. How much of those do we really need if the economy's shrinking and nobody's really going to work and we have different ways of getting around? There's a new normal here. But the flip side is, even if that 90 million cars sold a year goes down to 10 million, but those 10 million cars are autonomous, so they're worth way more, Tesla's going to make a ton of money on those cars, and Tesla sells 500,000 cars today. If they can sell a couple million, that's still huge growth. So Tesla's small enough to where the industry can shrink, and you're going to have Tesla still be able to grow. That's one thing. And I think the focus is really going to be like, okay, if auto to market really shrinks beyond this new normal of less people commuting because of COVID, the new normal is going to be autonomous. And so if you're not autonomous, you're going to get toasted and get screwed in this new normal for auto demand. Like you won't, it'll be like a horse, like nobody will buy it. And so, yeah, I think Tesla, it's crazy how much consolidation I see occurring in the industry, and I see almost all of the value going to the electric vehicle hardware company who can build an autonomous electric car that lasts the longest for the cheapest price, that's insured correctly. And that, to me, Tesla's no one's close there. Prediction for Q2 deliveries. Man, you guys are putting me on the spot here. Man, I'm just gonna be wrong about this. So, let's call it 5. Oh, my phone's about to die. All right. Last super chat. Maybe decrease in value of housing and increase in value of FSD, of cars with FSD, aka move from location paradigm. Yes. So I think location's declining. I got the hell out of New York City, and I'm like, I'm supposed to go back soon. I'm like, why would I go back to New York City? We're just all crammed on top of each other, paying so much money for tiny space, and nobody important's there anymore. I can't even meet anybody there anymore. I can't even go to restaurants there anymore. Like, I don't know. I think this has a very big impact on the economy. Structurally, it's a game changer. There's a new normal and a new status quo. You got to think that through. And I think the transportation sector is probably the one that's changing the most. Oil, EVs, autonomous, work from home. But overall, I see Tesla being able to, because of their lead in autonomy, weather all of these big changes and shifts. Anyway, y'all are awesome. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a blast. This is like 4 times as long as I was planning to go on, but it's always super fun. Oh, Novonix. So my hot take on Novonix is really interesting company, super under the radar, amazing technology to test the degradation of battery cells over time, best in class, Jeff Don approved in that. They're also expanding into producing their own synthetic graphite material that might be involved in a Tesla cell, that is definitely working with Panasonic and Samsung. This is a company to watch. I'm not sure they're run very well. I'm not sure they're going to add a lot of shareholder value, but I do think this is a company with a really interesting technology that should be on everybody's radar. So with that, I'll leave y'all. See y'all next time. Huge shout out to Novonix and Chris for coming on the channel. That was awesome. Peace out, y'all. Stay safe. Good vibes. Sending good vibes, because I feel like we all need them today. So I hope y'all are happy and just doing well and safe.